I don't know about you, but I've been thinking a lot about what my 2025 marketing looks like. And so today I want to dive into what are some 2025 marketing trends and how can we use them for our business. My name is Gwen. I'm a marketing strategist. I have over 15 years experience working with hundreds of small businesses of all types and sizes. And talking about marketing is my favorite thing. So thank you for joining me. Let's get into it. Number one on my marketing trends for 2025 is going to be video. We know that video is popular. It's been popular for a long time. I have been watching it grow and watching it expand into all sorts of different areas over the past several years. Now, once TikTok took off, we saw that short form video became much more accessible. It became much more common. Then Reels copied it, and now LinkedIn is now incorporating video into its platform. So basically, it's hard to get away from video. So if you're a small business and you're not using video, this is a good year to start. For just a second, let's talk about why video works. Because if you are reluctant to do video, which I completely understand, it might help you see the benefits. If we can talk about why video seems to work for people. So, number one, it is immediate. It lets people see your facial expressions, it lets people hear the inflection in your voice in a way that copy just doesn't do. Now, copy definitely, like the written word, is not going away. That still has a role. But when it comes to your marketing, I think it's really important to think about how you can incorporate video into your marketing going forward. It's just such a great way to build a quick connection to really let people get a peek about who you are, how you like to work, and your personality in a way that is just hard to do in other mediums. So, if you are thinking about video, what should you be looking at? In 2025, obviously, YouTube is going to be a big player. If TikTok, when I'm recording this, we don't quite know if TikTok is going to be banned yet. If it is, if it isn't, I think the short form video is not going away. So rather than talking about a specific platform like TikTok or just Instagram, let's pull it back a little bit and look at the big picture of short form video. So if you're going to utilize short form video in your marketing, you want to be engaging. So think about how you can put the most engaging part of your video, something that's eye catching. We call it the hook, something that gets people to stay those extra couple of seconds. We want to really be thinking about that when you're doing short form video. It's also really important to know your audience because in short form video, whether that's 5 seconds or 30 seconds or a minute, most people probably aren't watching longer than that for short form video. How do you get the message that you want to get across in a way that is engaging to your audience, that catches their attention and makes them want to learn more about you? You have to understand what they're looking for, whether that's something that they want to learn, something that they want to be entertained by, something that kind of amuses them in one way or another. So really be clear about what your audience is looking for and also being able to deliver that in a really concise way. Beyond being really clear about your messaging and being clear about who your audience is and who the video is for, it's also really important to think about the video quality. The great thing about short form video is it is a really low barrier to entry. You can just do it with your phone and stand next to your window and record a video. But generally speaking, the higher quality that you can create with better sound, well lit, nice background, all of those things, I think that's probably going to do better for you than, say, recording in the back of your closet. But if that's where you have to start to get over the hump of at least practicing, start there. Maybe don't post those, but start there and start getting comfortable making video because this short form video and even long form video is not going away. It's just going to become, I think, even an even bigger part of how we do our marketing. Another thing I think we'll see a big push towards in 2025 is community. And there's a couple of different types of communities that I want to talk about. Now, there is a lot of noise out there in the world, but people are still looking for real connections. And I think as long as you are starting with that, thinking about how you can actually connect with your audience, connect with people who are interested in what you're saying, I think that that's a really good place to start. Obviously, we can think about social media and online communities. Social media is designed to be social. So if you are only showing up to post your content and then leaving, sometimes they call it posting and ghosting. You don't want to do that. You want to start conversations, respond to comments, ask questions, really get people talking. I think that that's going to be a really important thing going forward is that people don't want to feel like they're only passively watching you do something. They want to talk to you. And when it comes to small businesses, another piece of community is networking. That's how we meet new people. That's how we build referral relationships. And I think if you can, participating in in-person networking in 2025 is probably a good idea. And if you can't do in-person, then I would do online networking. There are a couple of things to think about when you are networking. Number one, the follow-up is incredibly important. I always say you're probably not going to make an immediate sale in the room, and that's not why you should be going. The goal is to meet new people, to meet referral partners, to see who you can help. Because I think if you go into it with curiosity and an open mind, I think you're going to have a better time than if you approach it from the perspective of you have to make some sale to some person in this room because you just don't know what you're walking into. And if you're going to participate in networking events, I usually suggest trying 2 or 3 different ones and then also going 2 or 3 different times to the same event so that you can get a better feel for it. Because the first time you go, you're still nervous. You don't know where things are. The second or third time, you're starting to get a better feel for it. And I think that when we're building community, that involves showing up, especially in person as well. So if you are just going to a networking event and then never showing up again, never reaching out, not building community with those people, it's kind of like the social media equivalent of posting and ghosting. You're just showing up, but you're not giving anything back to the community. And I think people can tell. This next one, I wasn't sure if I should include in the community folder of my predictions or if it should be on its own. So it's kind of straddling the two. And that is authenticity. And I know that that word is so overused. You probably rolled your eyes actually when I said that. But it's just really a matter of how people can connect with you. If you are showing up and your only intention at any time that you show up is just to sell, again, people are going to be able to see that. They're going to be able to tell, and they're not going to be as interested. If you show up with a genuine desire to share and to connect, people can tell and people will be more interested in what you're sharing. And there are some places where a certain type of personality seems to do better. But if that's not your personality, that's okay. Show up as you are because the thing that makes you unique is the thing that people are going to want to see more of. So if you show up and you try to be the same version of everybody else, it's just not going to be as interesting because everybody is boring then. So show up as yourself and bring your unique personality to what you're doing. And that's one of the best ways that you can stand out because there's nobody else like you. Something else we'll see a lot of in 2025 is SEO. Now, I am an old school SEO nerd. It's one of my first loves when it comes to marketing. So I'm always excited to talk about it. But what we've seen over the past several years is SEO has become sort of baked into social media platforms. The algorithms have gotten smarter and they can better understand the actual words in the captions, meaning the video descriptions or the photo descriptions that you're using, or the actual words that you're saying in the video or the words that appear on your screen. And I know that can feel really overwhelming. But I think if you just pull it back just a little bit and really think about what the key message is for each video or for each piece of content and what the words and phrases that somebody might use if they were searching for that kind of content, I think it makes it a little bit less scary because it gives you a direction. And the really great thing is that for the most part, you're probably going to be saying the words and phrases that your audience uses. It might just take a little bit more intention to make sure that they are included in all of the places. But I bet if you really think about the topics that you talk about or what you share, you're probably already using some of those keywords anyway. This is just getting a little bit deeper and a little bit more intentional with it. And circling back to hashtags for just a second, I have heard some people say that hashtags might be being phased out completely on Instagram or they're just very much downplayed. I think that if you are looking at your analytics and you are seeing that when you use hashtags, you can see new people coming in, then keep using hashtags. On the other hand, if you're using hashtags, but it doesn't seem to be moving the needle as far as whether or not new people find you, whether or not people interact with you, then maybe phase those out for a couple of weeks and do a test and see if that changes your reach, if that changes your engagement. And then maybe put them back in and maybe try something else and see if that makes a difference. A lot of marketing really is just kind of trial and error, giving it a couple of weeks and then seeing what happens. Earlier, we talked about short form video content. I want to talk about longer form written content because I think that we might see a resurgence of that in 2025, partly from people who don't want to do video and they are looking for an alternative, and partly from people who are tired of dealing with social media and want to have a little bit more control over what they share, when they share it, and who sees it. I have been seeing a shift back towards blogging for the past 18 months or so, and I think that that could continue into 2025. One of the things that I think kind of kicked that off again was Substack. And if you're not familiar with Substack, it is kind of like a blog crossed with an email list. It has its own app. You can just read everything on Substack from Substack creators if you want to. They've added some community features and some video features and some audio features. It's kind of a problem that all of social media has, is that it kind of wants to be everything to everybody. But going back to focusing on the long form content, I think that Substack kind of gave people some inspiration and some encouragement to try long form writing. Maybe they felt kind of constricted by their email list. So we've seen lots of creators create Substacks for various reasons. If blogging is part of your goal, one of the things I would really encourage you to do is think about why you want to blog, what the goal of the blog is. If the goal of the blog is to bring you new customers or new clients and they've never heard of you before, that's probably going to be leaning into learning more about SEO, learning how to optimize your blog so that new people can find you. If, on the other hand, the reason that you want to start a blog is that you will have ideas to share, you just want to get them out of your head and you actually just enjoy the idea of writing, in that case, I probably wouldn't focus really heavily on SEO. I would probably more focus on just making sure that the blogs are well laid out and easy to read, and there's white space and lots of photos, and it's just a pleasant experience to be there. Since social media platforms are incredibly frustrating for a lot of business owners and a lot of creators, I think something else we'll see in addition to blogging, in addition to really focusing on building community, I think we're also going to see more people putting more effort into their email list, or at least I hope that we are, because an email list is an incredibly powerful tool. And unfortunately, a lot of business owners overlook email marketing. This is a combination of community building and having your own space. So something like your blog or your Substack or your email marketing, all of those are things that you control, and it makes them very different from social media. This next idea has been around for a while, but I think with the ongoing frustration of social media and algorithms and changes and all of those frustrations that happen, in addition to creating long form content that is free and available, I think we're going to see the rise of communities behind paywalls. Those would be things like Patreon. That would be something like a paid Substack subscription where you get content from that creator and it is behind a paywall and you can't access it unless you are paying a small monthly fee. I'm actually of two minds about this because I think there's something really amazing for creators about having more control over their own communities, about not having to fight algorithms, about being able to directly talk to their audience, and about having people in their audience who really want to be there and are willing enough to be there that they will pay a little bit of money to be in those communities. I think that deeper conversations can happen in those kinds of situations. On the other hand, we are beginning to live in a world where everything is a subscription, and I feel like that will only go so far and then that will collapse at some point. Is it going to be in 2025, or are we going to see a big rise in paid subscriptions and small amounts so that people can have access to the creators that they want to talk to? I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on this one, but I do think we're going to see more creators deciding that spending all of their time on social media, chasing algorithms, trying to put out a ton of free content just isn't something that they want to do anymore. Something else I want to say is that in addition to having control and all of those things, being able to talk to your audience directly, this is also an income stream, right? Because people are paying a subscription. If you have a really small following, this probably isn't going to be something that is going to work for you in 2025. I really think we're going to see it from bigger creators, people who already have a following, people who already have people who are really interested in what they're sharing. And that's, I think, what we're seeing on Substack as well is not every person can start a Substack with zero following and charge for it and then make any income from it. But if it is the right combination and the right size of the creator and the right audience and the right time, I think it's going to work really well for some people. Those are the 2025 trends and predictions that I have. I'm very curious to see it. We'll come back at the end of 2025 and see if I was right. Recap of what I think we're going to see in 2025. We are going to see even more short form video. That is definitely not going away. No matter what happens with any of the platforms, I think short form video is here to stay. And I would expect it to even be a bigger piece. Community building is going to be a huge piece in 2025. I think that we are all desperate for community and to not feel alone. And I think that's going to show up in a bunch of different ways. I think we're going to see a lot of people either reviving their blogs or starting new ones. So that will be interesting to see. I think people will be focusing on longer form content, and some of that is going to be behind paywalls. I also think people will spend time investing in their communities, whether that is online or in person in 2025. SEO is going to continue to expand beyond just websites, and it's going to be SEO everywhere. It's going to be in social media captions and in video captions, and really thinking about how you can optimize your content is going to be a really good first step. I think we're going to see more longer form content, which I know is funny since we're also seeing short form, but I think there's an audience for people who want short form content, and I do think there's an audience for people who want long form content. And a lot of that long form content, people are going to do it on their blogs. They're going to do it in their email list, and they're maybe going to do it behind some paid communities. As we wrap up, I would love to hear what you think the trends are going to be, what you are seeing in your world, and where you're going to be focusing your efforts in your 2025 marketing. Please drop a comment below and let me know.